Time now for the Bud Light Kentucky Basketball Postgame Show on ESPN Louisville Plus. Cats coverage also presented by Cox's and Evergreen Liquors, your neighborhood liquor store. Kentucky branded, your home for all things Kentucky. Carriage Ford, best by a country mile. Bear Nose Pizza, yeah, it's that good. BJ Heating and Cooling, call the experts you can trust. Barnes Auto Service, reliable repairs from bumper to bumper. Ale 8, Kentucky's original soft drink since 1926. And UPS Jobs, apply today, upsjobs.com/worldport. Now, here are your hosts, TJ Walker and Zach Cantrell.
Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday to you, January 24, 2026. This is the Bud Light Kentucky Postgame Show on ESPN 680. I am TJ Walker, joined with my producer and co-host Zach Cantrell, although he's not producing today because we are on ESPN Louisville Plus, the YouTube version of our show, which Justin Sofaro has us sounding and looking good, at least I hope. I am a little late getting set up, watching the end of Kentucky's fifth straight win, 72-63 over Ole Miss. Ole Miss has one win in Lexington in the last 100 years. Now, it was 99 going into today. They won't play again in Lexington until as early as next season. So it'll be 100 years between, or just with one Ole Miss win. I shouldn't say between wins. They won in 1998, UK's national championship year, but that's their only win since, I believe, 1927. Didn't happen today, but Zach Cantrell, it was a classic UK basketball game during this winning streak. No, they weren't down big, and actually, they bucked a trend. They were up at halftime. How about that? It was shocking to see. They were up at halftime, but still sloppy, still some bad stretches, but it's a win, and you could not afford a loss here. You just couldn't. It would have been a quad 3 loss. It would have taken you not 2 steps back, probably 7 or 8 steps back had you lost to the Rebels tonight. The resume maybe would not have survived a quad 3 win. And I woke up feeling a bit cheeky this morning, Zach, and I said, you know what? I'm not trying to be hyperbolic. This was a must-win for Kentucky. And then I pointed out that now, moving forward, and this is now factually true that the game is now behind us, 9 of UK's next 11 games are quad 1 games. So they're going to go against quad 1 opponents. Those are tough games. Yes, that means there's a lot of opportunities. I had one person reach out and they were like, well, you say it's a must win, but then you note how many great opportunities they have. If you can't beat Ole Miss at home, how much confidence are you going to have in Kentucky being able to go on the road and beat Vanderbilt or beat Arkansas? Because those are the next 2 games. There's road games at Auburn. There's road games at Florida. You still have some difficult challenges on the schedule. 9 out of the next 11 are challenging. So you had to take care of business today. And Zach Cantrell, even though it wasn't perfect, 2 things. 1, nobody got hurt, as far as I know. Nobody got hurt. And then secondly, it's just a win. And now you've won 5 straight after feeling like your season was on the brink. So this is better than the alternative. Like I said on Wednesday night, like I said last Saturday, like I said after the Malachi Miracle in Baton Rouge, it's better than the alternative because we've seen the alternative this year. So while we're going to be nitpicky probably here and there, I do want everybody to know I'm happy with Kentucky winning basketball games. This is more like it. Otega Oweh, 23 points. He was great. We said between Otega and Denzel Aberdeen, you couldn't have both of them have an off night. Well, thank goodness for Otega Oweh because Denzel Aberdeen did have an off night, but you were able to survive it. Malachi Marino, he was not great, but I like the effort. If you're not going to have a great game, at least play hard and defend. I liked what he did in those areas. And then Jasper Johnson, the bank is open on national weather emergency days. He has 5 points off Banks, back-to-back possessions, finishes with 11 points, hits 3 threes, and he steps up life after Cam Williams. We were wondering how it would look. Not perfect, but again, like this team has done all year, they found a way, somebody stepped up, and they continue to fight. So happy with the win. plenty to build off of and bring on the storm, which may be the 2 road games next week.
Yeah, that's the storm that's coming in here. But no, I mean, this game was the very definition of a rock fight. I mean, Ole Miss made 21 shots. Kentucky made 18 shots the entire game. This was not the best basketball, some would say. But Otega-Oweh was really good in the second half. There's a shock there. I mean, just copy-paste that for the last 5 games. Colin Chandler, again, makes another couple winning basketball plays, as he has throughout this win streak. Hits the 3 that ultimately puts him away 66-60. Jasper Johnson, as you mentioned, I thought played some really valuable minutes with, how he was able to handle the ball, hit 3 threes. That's the guy that I think we talked about who has to emerge for this team. Malachi Moreno certainly has to be one of those guys, and Jasper Johnson certainly has to be one of those guys. And so far, they've been able to do that during this winning streak. Again, you find different ways to win. Mark Pope's teams last year won a little bit prettier than this team is winning this year. I mean, they were making shots last year. It was a far more strong offensive showing for the most part in those games. Hasn't necessarily been that way as of late, but they're all wins. And this is a team after Missouri. We'll keep talking about this. 9-6 season looked like it was about to be over. They've now rallied. They don't show any quit. They've showed a lot of heart. They'll play poorly, but they'll never be out of a game because of their mentality and because they have a guy like Otega-Oweh. On a day where Denzel Aberdeen didn't have it, 1 for 7 was no impact in the game, and he's the guy that you're typically relying on to have a big second half, or at least you have been against Tennessee, against Texas, and against LSU. And he didn't do that today, but he was able to do a little something on the defensive end of the floor, and this team contested a bunch of shots. They were able to rebound when they had to, and I mean, you don't apologize for an 11 a.m. move the game up game before you're traveling to Vanderbilt and you're traveling to Arkansas. This had the very definition of trap game written all over it, and you're able to avoid the trap. You get the win, 5 in a row, and now you have an opportunity. 9 of your next 11 are against quad 1 teams. You're going to have to win some of those, obviously, but you're going to have a lot of opportunities starting with next week. If they can go 1-1 next week, that's a solid week, and they've given you now, I think, a little bit of optimism to believe that they have a chance against a Vanderbilt team that's reeling a little bit. Maybe not so much against Arkansas because they might be the best team in the SEC, but it's a 5th straight win. You avoid the trap. Good showing today for the Cats.
Kentucky 72, Ole Miss 63. He is Zach Cantrell. I am TJ Walker, and this is the Bud Light Kentucky postgame show on ESPN 680, ESPN Louisville Plus, and our producer this afternoon, I almost said evening. This evening, we're going to probably have 6 or 7 inches of snow coming our way. But Justin Sofero, how can people get in touch with the show? Lay down the law for them.
All right, what's up, everybody? We've actually already got one guy on the line. We have, of course, South and Josh tuning in. But anyway, if you guys want to get in, and let me also block this out so we don't get a copyright violation. But if you could do me a favor, you can just slide into my DMs. I'm not just going to talk about how I can get impregnated by the Louisville basketball team. I can tell you how I can impregnate you into the system, and to give a call in to TJ Walker and your boy ZC. I'll give you the direct line to get in there. Just slide in my DM at Justin Sofero. Of course, like and subscribe on the YouTube channel if you could. Do that for me, or wherever you're watching on Facebook as well. But just go ahead and slide in at Justin Sofero on there.
Well, hold on. Zach, last post-game show, we had some missionary trip conversation.
Some COVID discussion, some missionary trip discussion, yes.
And now we're discussing impregnating Justin's DMs?
I forgot. Well, it's a joke that's been going around the station. There's a bit that I do for Andy's show, which is which Louisville basketball player impregnated me last night. And it's every basketball game where they win. Honestly, I've done more losses than I've done wins lately. But anyway, it's just okay. I hate to describe this during the UK postgame show. You all care about the Cats.
No. You go ahead and you talk your way out of this one.
No, I'm more than comfortable with it. We could play it on here if you want to hear it. But anyway, no, we're not going to do that to you. It's too long. But at the same time, so Rutherford, Coffee, guys like that like to do their thing. Where, on Twitter, when Louisville basketball's playing well, which, they haven't really done a lot of lately. But early in the season when Michael Brown was healthy, guys would say that they got an erection, basically.
He's too erect.
That kind of stuff. That stuff's going on. And people would tweet out that. So in my juxtaposition, I decided I wanted to do it, but I had to kind of do it a little bit different. So instead, Kenai Roos had one good play, and he's had one good play all season, and I said that he impregnated me. And then from there, it became a bit where Andy wants me to give give him, I guess, a weekly update on which Louisville basketball player impregnated me. So that's it. That's all it is.
That's it. That's all it is. It's just
I give a 1 to 3 minute update on who impregnated Sofro, and there you go.
So some U of L media members have their erection meters, and you've got your impregnation meter.
It is, yeah. It's full. I'm right now in the second. I'm second trimester. I don't know what to tell you. Second trimester. Yeah. The emotions, little nausea. Anyway, get back to the Cats.
I'm glad all this is on the record. So, Zach, U of L media, they're doing erection meters, they're doing impregnation meters, and then they're doing some sort of witchcraft thing. Isn't that what U of L fans are up to? Like Etsy witches? But what the hell is going on in Louisville? I live here, but what is you all aren't down that bad. Justin, you survived the Kenny Payne era. That's over.
That's not the standard. It is not the standard for Louisville basketball to just not be Kenny Payne bad. But
yeah, I know, but I don't think we need to turn to Etsy witches and erection meters.
The erection it's impregnation meters, but at the same time, here's the thing. I do not endorse witchcraft or wizardry. None of the Harry Potter nonsense, none of that. I'm a Christian. You know what I mean? Like, I can't get behind witchcraft. I don't know what this is James Strebel. He can tell you about how the fallen angels taught people about sorcery and all that kind of stuff. So I'm out on that one.
Oh boy, I didn't think we would go this way with the Bud Light Kentucky postgame show here on ESPN 680, ESPN Louisville Plus, but you know what? You just go where the content is, and that was good or weird or bad, whichever one, but I wanted to hear more about it. Kentucky 72, Ole Miss 63. Slide into Justin's DMs if you'd like to be a part of the show, and we have South End Josh up first, so we'll just throw it his way. I've got more commentary on the game. I know Zach does as well. It's a win, 11 a.m. start with a snowstorm coming. You had to win this game. It just would have been brutal if you hadn't. So thank you for the win. It wasn't perfect, but we'll take it. Guess what? This team's not all that great, so we'll take the wins the way that we can get them. Now, maybe they can continue to improve, but at this point, I don't think we can be too picky about it. Although if there's anybody that can be, it is South End Josh. So South End Josh, what's up, buddy?
Hello, TJ. Hello, Zachary. Hello, Justin. Hello, dear friends. We are west of the airport, and the snow is starting to fall. I have been in the post-apocalyptic landscapes of Kroger on Hubbard's and St. Matthew's Target looking for distilled water for my CPAP machine because I am a mouth breather, and I am 0 for 2, so I just threw my hands up and said, screw it, I'm going home. It's absurd. Like, this is worse than the damn pandemic. Like, you can't find anything.
I knew nobody would know how to go with that one. Nobody knew how to receive that.
I think there's just a little bit of a delay. At least this is just for like this weekend, South and Josh. The pandemic was for a while. I mean, you couldn't find toilet paper for like 3 weeks.
Well, you can't find that either. People were, I guess, worried about cramping their pants and running out of toilet paper. But now I watched the first half of the game at work, and then went and had salsaritas with my loving wife, and watched the second half of the game in my car in the Kroger and Target parking lot. And I'm pretty sure the citizens of St. Matthews think I'm an absolute crazy person because my car was shaking, and you could probably hear the obscenities I was yelling during the game through the.
Talk about the impregnation and erection meter. Hello, everybody. Hello. We got the car shaking like it's San Andreas.
Of all the things Justin said about his U of L fandom, that's certainly one of them.
Yeah, no kidding about that. Wow, you were out St. Matthew's way. Anybody that has any sort of communication with the show today, whether you're calling in or you're commenting, which if you do comment, we can get it there on the scroll, which is always a good time. We have to have your snow prediction. So South End Josh, Louisville, how many inches are we getting?
Let's go with, I'm going to go 11.5 inches.
Wow, that's a lot of inches. Okay. All right, what'd you make of Kentucky's win over Ole Miss? What'd you make of the win?
Our wins certainly would not finish fourth at a beauty pageant. They're downright ugly, but at this point, you just got to take them how you can get them. I'm really glad Travis Perry's still an absolute bum, too. That was a nice first shot attempt by Travis. Don't ever change, buddy.
We've got some breaking we've got some breaking news, totally unrelated to Kentucky basketball or South End Josh slamming Travis Perry like it's the old days of 2025. But the Steelers have hired Mike McCarthy, the former Packers and Cowboys coach, who beat the Steelers in the Super Bowl back in 2011, is now, it was the 2010 season, the Steelers coach, Mike McCarthy. That is official. And wow, I did not see that one coming, South End Josh or Zach Cantrell.
Wow, I didn't know that. You're just now telling me for the first time.
The snow is falling on Dixie Highway, so we're off and running here.
Well, be careful, South End Josh. The game on Tuesday at Bandy, you feeling solid about it? UK with a 5-game win streak going into that one. Bandy, they got to. Did they hold on against Mississippi State? I think they did. How you feeling about that game on Tuesday?
You got to find a way to go 1-1 this week. I don't know. I don't care which one you win. You just got to win one of them because it's. I don't feel good about playing either one.
All right. Well, let's not act like if we're just picking between the two, it's just apples to apples. Come on now.
Yeah,
I can tell you which one I would rather. I can tell you which one I'd rather win. It's. I would rather win in Fayetteville, but let's just not act like that's not a hard place to play.
Well, no, obviously it's an incredibly tough place to play, although I do think the last time Kentucky was there, they gave the Hogs a butt whooping. But if it wasn't the last time, it was the time before that. Now, that being said, we got to talk about this. The Vandy game's up next, so we'll talk about that one. I do think it's winnable, but it'll be a tough one. You beat Arkansas on Saturday. That's a season-changing win. That's all right, you know what? Kentucky only went to the Sweet 16 this year, but remember when we won at Arkansas and beat Calipari? That's what's on the line for Saturday. This is a huge week for Mark Pope and Kentucky basketball. I think the majority of people are just assuming it's going to be an 0-2 week. 1-1, and you're right, South End Josh, in any capacity is huge for this season. 2-0, and you're talking about, okay, maybe go out and just win the SEC. But 1-1 with a win at Arkansas maybe makes this year memorable regardless of what happens moving forward.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You win both of them. You can start kind of thinking more towards, I think, your preseason expectations, but I'm not going to hold my breath on that one. I'm going to jump off here, boys. Everybody stay safe, stay warm, look out for each other, and go Cats.
Go Cats, baby. Zach, anything you want to take from that phone call?
Well, the Mike McCarthy stuff is just it. I don't know if I like that move if I'm the Steelers. I saw McCarthy flamed out with the Cowboys the last time that he was there, although he did have a couple of 12-win seasons with Dak Prescott. But I don't know who his quarterback's going to be with Pittsburgh. But yeah, it's already started a little bit here. Some flurries outside now. So yeah, I guess here we go. As Tony Romo would say, here we go, Jim. As far as the snow is concerned, but yeah, I mean.
You've never let a few snowflakes bother you, Zach Cantrell.
No, the snowflakes don't bother me. I see what you did there. But no, next week is vital. I mean, Vanderbilt, by the way, is blowing out Mississippi State now. They're up by 27 in the second half. So you would rather beat Arkansas. Obviously, that would be more of a signature win. If you can pick one of those two games to win, it would be the Razorbacks. But I think Vanderbilt is winnable. I mean, Vanderbilt has not been great as of late. I mean, I think they lost 3 consecutive games coming into this one. They got blown out by Arkansas. They got blown out by a Texas team that just came up to Rupp and took an L against Kentucky. So I think that is a gettable game for the Wildcats. They're going to have to shoot a whole lot better in that game than they did today. They're not going to be able to go 18 for 50, 8 for 27 from 3 sounds about right for this team, but they're not going to be able to shoot like that against a good Vanderbilt team and expect to go down to Nashville and win that game. Hopefully they actually can get down to Nashville and play that game, obviously, because I think they're going to be more affected by snow than we are. So,
What's up, Justin?
Oh, sorry. I was just trying to quietly, because there's no way to whisper near you on here. It's just, we got Luther on the line. That's it.
Well, let's just go right there. Welcome in, Bud Light Kentucky Postgame Show with Zach Cantrell, TJ Walker, Luther. Welcome in.
Yo, what's cracking?
Oh, just ready for this storm, buddy. What's up with you? How are you doing? How many inches? What's your inch prediction? Inch me.
About, well, I live out in the OC, but I'm down in the West now right now. So, you know what the OC is, don't you?
I would imagine you're in Oldham County. Yes. What part of Oldham
Yeah.
County? You got to go check out North Oldham basketball, Luther. They are nuts. Pierre Rondo, he is the truth. And then we're going to talk about St. X. We're going to talk about St. X versus Mayo last night. Maybe not right now, but we'll get into it at some point. They put on a dunking clinic in the final 90 seconds against Mayo. 5 dunks in 90 seconds for a huge blowout win. It was a good time, Luther. Anyways, go ahead.
I live about a mile and a half away from South, so I'm in the Crestwood. But anyway,
You're more of a Dragon guy.
Listen, yeah, my kid, he just graduated from there about a year and a half ago. But anyways, getting on to this walking deed that I have to look at twice a week, and I'll tell you what's really disturbing is seeing Mark Fox get his fat ass up off the bench every damn play. I'm sick of seeing it because he's a bum, and anytime you see him coaching, right behind him is losing. He needs to be off the bench. How in the hell is he associate head coach? Are you kidding me? But, you know, I'm sick of the bum. I want him gone. I don't give a damn that they won 5 straight. It's like pulling what hair you got left off your head watching these bums play. I mean, they can't hit free throws. They can't hit three-pointers. What can they do besides get injured? I'm sick of it. The fan base is sick of it. I know you two chums are sick of it. And, you know, I don't know what I have to do besides start literally wearing the bag on my head when I go up there to the damn Rupp Arena. It's a sad, sad product, what is on the floor. Every damn game. And it's not going to get any better until the goon is gone. And before one of these trash bag Louisville fans want to try to call, don't think that you guys are hippity-hopping in down the road because you suck too. Go to hell, you bums. You make me sick. And if I drank, I'd get so drunk tonight that I'd go piss on Floyd Street. Late.
Luther, everybody. How about that? Wow.
Did they win today?
They did win. It was their one for the thumb. That's their 5th straight win for Kentucky basketball. It is not pretty. There is a part of Luther's sentiment that I can actually get behind. As weird as it sounds, as happy as I am with another win, and I basically started the show, right, Zach, by basically saying that was not pretty, but I'm just happy that they're winning versus the alternative. There is a point to Luther. That was a negative call, and we had several on Wednesday, and there is just still a portion of this fan base that isn't thrilled with how this season has gone, and I understand it because $22 million number, whether that was accurate or not accurate, it is one of the more expensive rosters in college basketball, if not the most expensive roster. You took a gamble on a guy coming off an ACL tear. People scratched their head at that. People were worried about three-point shooting coming into this season. It has been not a great three-point shooting team, although they've been playing a little bit better from behind the arc as of late, which we're appreciative of. And there were Final Four and national championship expectations, and thank goodness with this 5-game winning streak, you've moved yourself up probably to a 6 or a 7 seed with a huge opportunity to jump up maybe 2 seed lines this upcoming week. So you're not on the bubble anymore, but Zach, you were legitimately on the bubble before this 5-game winning streak and maybe potentially on the wrong side of it. So even though you are winning, and that is better than the alternative, it's still not great basketball, and it's still not meeting the bar that we set in the preseason. So I can understand some of that frustration, but in a world of wins and losses, I'm just not going to be negative after a fifth straight win. So I can get the sentiment. I'm just not going to be as negative.
Right. I mean, the standard is the standard, as Mike Tomlin would say, or as Sofro mentioned earlier about Louisville basketball. We all know the standard for Kentucky basketball is not to get to the Sweet 16 like they did last year. That was kind of a one-off. Their standard is to be a Final Four contending team. And is this team that right now? No, they are not. But they're steadily developing. They're getting better as the season's gone along, and they've played their way off the bubble to this point. I mean, winning 5 in a row will help with that. But this is a team that won on the road at Tennessee. It's not as though all 5 of these wins have come against bums. It's not like they're playing bad teams. Tennessee's probably not as good as they were last year or the year before that, but they're a good team that's going to make the tournament and maybe make a run in the tournament. So that's the win that, if you're a Kentucky fan, makes you optimistic. But they're figuring out different ways to win, and they're figuring out ways to win when they don't play their best, and that's what good teams do. Now, they need to play better, obviously, if they're going to beat Vanderbilt, or they're going to beat Arkansas, or they're going to beat some of the upper echelon of the SEC. But I think what we're not really talking about this year is the SEC is far from what it was last year, when it was by far and away the best conference in college basketball and one of the best conferences of all time. This is not that version of the SEC. So there's going to be some opportunities for this Kentucky team to have a run, maybe have a chance to get a double bye in the SEC tournament. I don't think it would surprise anybody if they managed to do that at this point. No, they're not a national title team right now, but you got to take the wins with the losses. And if you would have said after the Missouri game that you'd be sitting here 14-6 and we'd actually have an interesting basketball team to talk about, I'm not sure either of us would have believed that at the time. So I see no reason not to be positive.
On the flip side, Zach Cantrell, if you just beat Missouri, if you hold on to an 8-point lead with 4 minutes and 30 seconds left in that game, you're in first place in the SEC. You have one conference loss, and it's at Alabama in the conference opener. Nobody bats an eye at that. That Missouri loss is so frustrating, and it's aging like fine wine in the sense that it's just becoming more and more and more frustrating. It's growing in its frustration as it goes on. You didn't need to lose that game at all. And let's just go ahead and talk about it. And if we get any updates, we'll be sure to update you here on the Bud Light postgame show on ESPN 680, ESPN Louisville Plus with Zach Cantrell and TJ Walker. If you'd like to get in touch, look at my Twitter or Zach's Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, and then DM Justin Sofero, and we can get you on the show. We're not doing the phone lines today like normal. We should get back to that on Tuesday night. It'll be a late night on Tuesday night. UK, they now have 4 games in the next month that start at 8:30 or later. So over the next month, go ahead and burn that midnight oil. We're going to have some late ones on the Bud Light Kentucky postgame show. But if you'd like to get in touch, Justin is your guy. Justin, are you there? Did I hear something, or am I making that up?
I'm here. No, you didn't hear. I mean, I didn't try to interject, but I am here if you need anything. By the way, we got another guy on whenever you want it, whenever you have time. But just if you all want to do your show for a little bit, do your show, and then John can get in whenever you have an opportunity.
No, I'd like to. I don't want to make the callers wait, especially with it being the YouTube show today. We're going to hit the superlatives. We'll talk more about Kentucky's 72-63 win over Ole Miss, where the Cats saw a 6-point halftime lead and some tight moments in the second half. It was not a comfortable win by any stretch of the imagination, but they did enough to be able to pull away, didn't come down to the final possession. So we're happy about that, but this team probably is what it is. It's got a ceiling, I don't know, maybe of the Elite Eight. If this team made the second weekend, I would consider that somewhat a victory. But not impossible. They do have good players, and they are, I think, getting better. It is clicking. Malachi Marino, I think, gets better every game. Otega, he's reliable. Denzel Aberdeen had been reliable. This was an off night for him. I doubt he has 2 off nights in a row going down to Nashville on Tuesday evening. So we'll see what this team can do, but again, just winning is more fun. So they're doing more of that. It's been, 2 straight weeks of wins, 2.5 straight weeks of wins. We'll take it. John, welcome into the Bud Light Kentucky postgame show with Zach Cantrell and TJ Walker. Happy Saturday, buddy. Be careful. What's your snow inch total? Luther didn't give us a total. Darn you, Luther.
Yeah.
Darn you.
Here in Evansville, I think it's going to be about 7-9, somewhere in there. So maybe. I hope not, though. At least there's no ice. Are you guys going to get a lot of ice there?
Yeah, so there were some ice updates today saying we may get some ice. I don't know where they settled on the ice total. Zach, did you see anything about the ice total?
It doesn't sound like it's going to be a lot of ice. It seems like maybe like an inch or so, but I think for the most part, it's just going to stick to snow, which is more optimal than driving in ice, obviously. Growing up in the Midwest, I can figure out a way to drive in snow. Driving in ice is a whole separate ballgame, but I don't think ice is going to be a big problem here.
Yeah, ice will destroy a city. Snow you can deal with, and if you're talking about like no, okay, all right. I didn't mean like you know what, ice they can destroy a city as well. But that no, in all seriousness, anybody that lived in Louisville or just Kentucky in 2009, you know what that ice storm did. It was pretty bad. So be safe, be careful, John. Yeah, I don't think Evansville is expected to get hit as hard as the Commonwealth of Kentucky, but 7 to 10 inches, that's no joke. I can tell you that much.
Yep, for sure. You guys have been hitting everything, Zach and TJ. TJ, you brought up a good point, man, whenever you said, hey, if they beat Missouri, you know, everybody's looking at – we're all looking at this a little bit different. I mean, I had a stint where I called in huffing and hollering outside of a restaurant parking lot about how the team sucks and Mark Pope was a bum, and the last 5 games, I haven't really come off the fact that I think he's messed up on some coaching things here and there. But I would say the last few games, though, he's made some good decisions. You know, maybe like whenever he would challenge certain plays or bringing Jasper off that bench and letting him be that spark plug. We're seeing that Jasper's really starting to flourish into that. So I'm glad that that's happening. The thing I have a question about is we don't know anything about JQ. And I hate to keep hanging on to him, like, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? But the next 2 games, like you guys said, 1-1 would be great. 0-2, you know, you feel like you're back to square one if you go 0-2, especially if you get blown out. And Zach, you said something about we're kind of making at least this game and you know some other games where we won by 1 point against, or not one, but we hit a buzzer beater against LSU, and so you kind of make these games some rock fights, right? Like what you're saying, and can we do that without JQ against Vandy and Arkansas, or do we need him? I would prefer to say we need him and we would want him, but can we still make these ugly games rock fights with Vandy and Arkansas, and let's just shock the world, boys, and let's win both?
Why not? Why not at this rate? Yeah, that's the thing. I think, especially against Arkansas, they're going to have to turn that game into a rock fight. They're not going to be able to go up and down the floor with Arkansas and think that they're going to be able to have success. That's got to be a much more defensive game. And I think to a degree they probably have to do that against Vanderbilt as well. And maybe that's what this team's identity is. They're not the prolific three-point shooting juggernaut that they were last year. They're more of a physical defensive team. Didn't think we'd say that under Mark Pope, but they've started to become a better defensive team. They've started to rebound the ball better. They've started to figure out their roles. So I think that is what's going to serve them best next week. But yeah, these games, they're not pretty to watch, but you'd rather have an ugly victory than a pretty loss.
Yeah, and I don't know if there has been an update from Mark Pope today. Well, they've already done the press conference. Obviously, us being on the YouTube stream, we weren't able to throw it to Mark Pope for the Ale-8 1, Kentucky's original ginger soft drink since 1926 Mark Pope press conference. That being said, I haven't seen it if he gave any updates. If this team wants to raise its ceiling, Jaden Quains has to be a part of the equation. He just has to. And I don't know if he will or he won't, but Malachi Marino has been awesome. There's just a drop-off when they go to Brandon Garrison. And I disagree with the caller from Wednesday. Brandon Garrison's not great, but he has been playing better, and he's been playing harder, and the stat line doesn't necessarily show it, and he made some mistakes. He did something goofy out there today. There was almost like back-to-back possessions where he potentially cost UK a couple points. I think he had a great pass just go right off his hands, and then he did something silly on the defensive end. He is what he is as a player, but if he plays hard, he's somebody, he can be like an Eloy Vargas, and that is slightly offensive to Brandon Garrison. However, I think it's kind of true. He can be like an Eloy Vargas where, no, Malachi Marino is not Anthony Davis, but Malachi needs a break. Go out there and please just don't totally goof up. And I don't think he's totally goofed up the last 2 games. Yes, he's made mistakes, but overall, I think he's done a serviceable job as a backup big. Jaden Quains just changes the equation. And you got mixed results when he played. He was not great in a small showing against Mizzou. He looked out of place against Alabama in that blowout loss, but he was a difference maker against St. John's, and he did some decent things in small stretches. He's just a freak. He helps with the rebounding. He helps with the shot blocking. He doesn't change the equation offensively necessarily, but he's good on putbacks. So he does in a slight way, at least from an offensive rebounding standpoint. You need him if you want this team to do anything of substance or anything special. Jaden Quains has to play. Now, the issue, John, I don't think – now, Jack Pilgrim, he says that it's not like an opt-out situation. There is legitimate knee swelling going on, and they just want to be careful with everything. Here's how it was expressed to me, that UK and the JQ camp was cautious and just smart about bringing him back, but once the doctors cleared him, JQ and his camp basically said, I'm cleared. Let's play. And Kentucky said, all right, you're cleared, but we're going to work you back. We just want to be careful with all this. And again, I don't know if this is totally true or not, but the JQ camp sort of expressed, hey, if I'm cleared, play me like I'm cleared. Play me until I tell you I need a break and I need to come out. And Mark Pope wasn't doing that. And now this point isn't just what I'm hearing. This is just pure speculation from me. I need to make that abundantly clear. But I think the JQ camp basically said, all right, we're telling you we want to play. We're telling you that we're cleared to play, and you're still giving us third string big minutes. That Bellarmine game, he hardly got on the floor, and Mark Pope said it was a matchup thing. There's no matchup thing with Bellarmine and JQ. There's no matchup problem there. He's the matchup problem. Oh no, a 6'7" white Bellarmine big is going to take JQ out on the perimeter. Oh, okay, good luck. Like what matchup problem is there on JQ's end? There's a matchup problem, all right, and it's the dude that was averaging 12 and 9 in high school basketball 2 years ago. It ain't JQ, I promise you that. So I think the JQ camp eventually got to a point they were just like, hey, if you're not going to play us, we're a lottery pick right now. We'll just make the smart business decision. We don't need to go out there for 8, 9, 10 minutes. And he was not good in this game. It's worth mentioning that. He was not great against Missouri, but he doesn't play in the final 8 or 9 minutes. And you're up 8, and you stop getting rebounds, and you stop being able to defend the paint, and you stop being able to stop Missouri's big man. You probably win that game if you're Mark Pope and you play Jaden Quains in the final few minutes. And no, he was not great in that game, but he's still one of the best big men in SEC play. And then sure enough, you start getting JQ's dad tweeting out this and that and the other. And shortly after the dad's talking about how Mark Pope doesn't know how to use bigs, the knee starts swelling up again. And for what it's worth, Jack Pilgrim is much smarter than I am in this situation, and he says there's no shenanigans. He says there's no opting out, that there's no the knee is swelling. But I just find it a little strange, and I find it a little bizarre that the knee started swelling the game after Dad goes to Twitter talking about how they're not happy. And then you mix that in with the fact that I was told, or at least I was led to believe, that JQ and his camp wanted more minutes, more playing time. And then all of a sudden now there's no playing time. So I hope they can figure this out. And if it is truly a knee swelling situation, I hope that this swelling stops. If it's just true, there is no shenanigans like Jack Pilgrim says, then I hope he gets healthy. This team needs him. It's not just like a luxury piece or a cherry on top. They need depth on the front court. I was impressed with Andre Yelovich today. Malachi Marino continues to improve, but with no Cam Williams, I know that they're totally and completely different players, but you take a step back or two without Cam Williams. His length and his versatility to be able to switch defenders, that goes a long way. Now, if you're going to play Trent Noah, you're going to play some other guys who aren't as good defenders, well, you may want an elite shot blocker in the paint to erase some of those mistakes. Kentucky needs JQ whenever they can get him. All right, rant over. I'm sorry, John.
No, that's all right. And no, thank you for that update, TJ. I'd like to hear that stuff. And like, I know it takes some of it as some information you heard and some of it as you speculating. So I know that's two different areas there. And I look at it this way too. I got two things to say here, and I'll hop off. One is Kentucky's inconsistency is their consistency, and I've been saying that for a while, especially the last 5 games. And that's a bad thing to say sometimes for a team, but it is what it is. Their inconsistency and their way to make these rock fights, and as Zach was saying, and get into the games like that. And then they even have their own little rock fights they're throwing at their own self: loose ball, turnovers, bad passes, all that. That's them right now. That's what we have. And going back to JQ, TJ, maybe. And this is just me speculating too, because I have no idea. I'm just speculating off things you were saying. I would say this: maybe when they weren't playing him as much, because Mark was trying to bring him back, and the staff was like, he's cleared, but we don't want a quick re-injury. Let's go slowly. His camp was saying, play me more minutes. And maybe the knee did start to swell even with less minutes. And Mark, behind the scenes, he may not have said it in a mean way, but probably in his own self, looking at himself by himself, he was like, I told you so. And so maybe that is what happened. And maybe they're like, we're not bringing you back again until we know for sure you can go out there and eventually climb to the minutes we want you to. That's why we didn't want to rush it last time. Maybe that's the case. I hope it is, guys. We're going to beat Vandy and Arkansas. CATS, guys. Cats.
Love the optimism. Absolutely. But
be safe in the storm, John. Thanks for reaching out and getting in with the show. I know it's a little harder when we're on ESPN Plus Louisville, but yeah, Zach, what do you think about what John said about JQ?
I hope that JQ is not holding out. I don't think he is. I think there's legitimate injury concerns here. I mean, his knee is swelling. That I think is factual. I think if he could play extended minutes, I think he would play extended minutes. Look, if Jaden Quaintz was going to sit out the entire season, he would have just done it. And he had a decent reason to do so. I mean, he tore his ACL less than a year ago, and obviously that requires a whole lot of rest. It requires him to be back near 100% because you never want to mess with a knee injury. If he were legitimately not going to play this year, then he could have just not done it. So I think he wants to get back out there. I think this team obviously needs him. There's a ceiling that exists with Kentucky with Jaden Quaintz that doesn't exist with Jaden Quaintz out there. So if he can get out there, that brings so much energy, brings a lot of rebounding, brings a lot of good defense, and this team's been able to survive without it, and I think that is a testament. As much as we're going to criticize Mark Pope, and as much as I don't agree with a lot of the things that he's doing, I will say, though, he's doing a good job trimming the roster down a little bit. Only 6 guys play more than 20 minutes, so it's not 10, 11 guys splitting minutes like usual. But you get Jaden Quaintz back out there, that elevates the ceiling of your team, and I think he will play again before the season's over.
He's running out of options of players, Zach Cantrell. It's not that he's narrowing the rotation. It's narrowing itself.
Yeah, there's only 9 guys maybe available. And Braden Hawthorne, he talked about in the press conference, they're talking about maybe burning his red shirt. Well, he's dealing with a calf injury. So can't bring him back until he's 100%. And they don't even know if they want to burn the red shirt. And Cam Williams got shoulder surgery. Mark Pope said it was a perfect surgery. He loves to use the words perfect and beautiful about everything. Like another great leader.
Did you mean Jalen Lowe got shoulder?
Jalen Lowe.
Okay, gotcha. He was away from the team today. You said Cam Williams. I was like, oh, no, not Cam Williams. Shoulder too. The foot and the shoulder. No.
No. Jalen had shoulder surgery.
Yeah, he wasn't with the team. People noticed that. People speculated. Mark Pope said that he was getting surgery.
He said Cam had surgery yesterday.
Okay. Well, the surgery with Cam supposedly isn't the end of the world in terms of him potentially coming back, unless there was an update today. But I think his dad was telling KSR that surgery would be his quickest option to come back, which I thought surgery would mean that there's no chance he's coming back. But I don't know what the latest is there. But I would say, I know some people are like, well, even if he comes back, you'd get him for SEC tournament week. Don't care. Get him back for a game. let him do the Terrence Clark thing and let him play for 5 minutes or 10 minutes and see if it makes a difference in the slightest. If you can get Cam Williams back at all, and he can't protect a red shirt, he can't protect any sort of eligibility. So there's no reason, if he can come back for one game, if it's the last game of the year, if Kentucky makes the Sweet 16 and that's the week he could be eligible, you put him out there if you can get him. He spreads the floor. He's a versatile defender. Even if he's at 80%, you at least want to have the threat of Cam Williams out there. So I hope you can get him back. My guess is, Zach, you don't. He's probably out for the year. This has just been an injury nightmare a year and a half in for Mark Pope. 14 players that play meaningful minutes have now missed games in a year and a half. I mean, it's just hard to fathom that that's the reality, but it is. It's just, it's a nightmare.
I'll go ahead and say Cam Williams comes back for either the SEC tournament or the NCAA tournament. But yeah, that would be a blow if obviously he doesn't play the rest of the season. I don't know what the trainer's doing. I don't know what the medical staff's doing, but maybe those jobs should be a little bit evaluated after the season. Just horrible injury luck for this team. And so that kind of affects, as we talked about, we don't fully know the ceiling of this team. Well, that's because these guys aren't healthy. I mean, if you had a healthy Lowe, you had a healthy Quaintance, the whole dichotomy of this season is completely different. And the fact that they are where they are, even without those guys, I think Mark Pope does deserve some credit for that. So, I mean, hopefully you get Cam Williams back. You obviously know you're not getting Jalen Lowe back. That's the only one you don't know for sure. If you can get Quaintance back and you can get Cam back, at least, even in a somewhat limited capacity, the ceiling for this team is significantly higher than where they are right now. They're just kind of gluing and patching it all together right now, just trying to run on fumes. But they've been able to survive. Give them credit for that.
Call me crazy, but if I was a head coach,
you're crazy.
But I would come out and I would just say, like, hey, we do expect Cam back at some point. Now, something could change. He could have a setback. There's no guarantee. We're up against the clock on it as is. But assuming everything goes well, UK fans, we're hoping to get him back this year. And then you could do the same thing with JQ. Say the knee is swelling, but it's not going to swell forever. We don't know when he's going to be back, but the day that he can come back, we're going to try to get him out there. I do feel like they're being vague on the injuries. And with the Cam Williams stuff, that's different than JQ. And I need to be, obviously we need to acknowledge that, but anybody paying attention, I think, understands that the JQ and the Cam Williams situations are very different. Obviously the Jalen Lowe situation is probably closer to the Cam Williams situation, where it's like, he's hurt, he's getting surgery. And we know with Jalen Lowe's surgery, he's out for the year. Also, he can protect a medical red shirt. Cam Williams, he has surgery. We don't know if he's out for the year, unless, again, there was an update today that I hadn't seen. JQ is just a total mystery, and I don't know. I just feel like you could come out and just say, hey, he will be back unless there's a major setback. I can't control the future. People are smart. We can understand that things can change. What we don't like is the gray area. That's just the speculation. And then it leads for people like bozos like myself to go on radio and say, JQ's dad was complaining on Twitter, and then all of a sudden you could snuff that stuff out. You could stop that stuff if you wanted to. They choose not to. Calipari, when he was at Kentucky, he chose not to, and it allowed people to speculate. So if this team gets Cam Williams back and JQ back and they can hit the ground running in some capacity, they can beat just about anybody on any given night, maybe anybody on any given night. It'll be a really, really, really good defensive team if you get those guys back. If you don't, they're still fighting, Zach, and we can appreciate that, and we can still enjoy that. It's not perfect. It's not a lot of fun. And how about this? 38 free throws tonight for Kentucky, and that's coming off the game on Wednesday against Texas that we thought was a bit of a foul fest, where UK shot, how many was it against Texas? 35 free throws.
35, yeah.
So a combined 73 free throws over its last two games for Kentucky. And they hit 30 of 35 against Texas, 28 of 38, so not as good tonight. But, if you've been at Rupp Arena this week, you have seen a lot of foul shots.
Yeah, because when we all go to these games, who we want to see. We want to see the refs involve themselves in the game as much as possible. But Kentucky at least adjusted to the fact that they were going to call everything. And they drove to the basket and they got their free throws. Now, you obviously want to shoot better than 74% if you're going to have 38 free throws. That's something that could ultimately do this team in, because we've seen in their losses, their free throw shooting has been a bit of a problem. So they got to get better in that regard. But I like the fact that they're being aggressive. They're getting to the line, because that's an easy opportunity to score points and nobody can defend you. So attack the basket, get to the free throw line, and good things usually happen. They made 28 free throws. They made 18 shots as a whole. You don't see that very often. But if you can't make anything from the field, then get yourself to the line and have an uncontested little jump shot and have eat some easier free throws. So, I mean, that's a good strategy for this team. And again, you're just finding different ways to win. You're just doing it by any means necessary, and nobody says it's pretty, but it is effective. So it'll work.
And I think that's part of the bittersweet nature of today's game. You do win, but you're 18 of 50 from the field. That ain't good.
Yeah, it's not great.
That's not, I'm no math major, but that's pretty easy to do the percentage on that. Just times the 50 by 2 to get to 100, and then times the shots made by 2 to get to 36%. But you win, and you hold your opponent to 32%. So, again, it ain't pretty, but it'll get the job done. So we're happy about that. Let's go into the superlatives. We did not get the Mark Pope press conference, but we did touch on a couple highlights. He was quick. Everybody was quick. They're trying to get the media and the fans out of there with the winter storm, snow coming down in the Louisville area. And genuinely, while we like to have a lot of fun and silliness on this show, be safe, be careful. This is the real deal. It's going to get gnarly. And just check on your neighbors over the next few days.
What are you, Mark Weinberg over here?
Well, I'm not whining, am I?
No, not yet anyway.
Well, yeah. Wait till the next UK loss and then come find me. Twin Peaks player game. Yeah, no kidding. Eats, drinks, scenic views. Probably your last chance to go on up to Twin Peaks and get yourself a bunch of leftovers for the weekend. Maybe a frosty beer or two. I don't think they'll let you take those to go, but get a couple while you're waiting for your food. Drive safely. Have a designated driver. Otega Oweh's 23 points is the no-brainer Twin Peaks player of the game. 50% shooting from the field. He did his part. Outside shooting, not as great. 1 of 5, but he was able to get to the line. Missed a couple free throws, which was frustrating. 10 of 13, though. We'll take that. In 29 minutes, 23 points. You had to have that production today, especially with Denzel Aberdeen having an off night. Otega Oweh doing Otega Oweh things. Zach Cantrell, he is your Twin Peaks player of the game.
Yeah, there really was no other candidate. It was Otega Oweh, who, shocker, again took over in the second half. And, well, he did miss a couple free throws, but other than that, I like the aggressive nature. He got some good shot selection for once. I mean, that's been an issue at times this year, but I thought his shot selection today was outstanding. Only 2 other guys were even in double figures with Colin Chandler and Jasper Johnson. Speaks to the overall rock fight that this game was. There's no doubt Otega Oweh was player of the game, and he could probably be the Twin Peaks player of the game, I don't know, 80% of the time this year so far.
That's fair. Sometimes I feel like we just have to be diplomatic and give it to somebody else, but more times than not, it's just the easy call to give it to Otega Oweh. He was the best player. He had the most points in the game tonight. And then AJ Storr for Ole Miss, which if that name sounded familiar coming into this game, he has been all over college basketball. He's been playing for many years. You'd think that maybe in 3 or 4 years, he'll probably still have some eligibility left for Alabama. But he has 20 points for the Rebels. He's the leading scorer for the visitors tonight. But Otega Oweh leads all scorers, 23 points on 50% shooting from the field. Next up, we've got KPG Glass. Who hit the glass? This shocked me, Zach Cantrell. I would have guaranteed that Ole Miss won the rebounding battle based on just how many second chances Kentucky gave Ole Miss. It felt like if Ole Miss were to steal a win today, the storyline would have been just get some rebounds. Don't give them second chance points. However,
they did not.
Kentucky wins the rebounding battle tonight. I was surprised to see it. 45-43. Malachi Marino leads Kentucky with 9 rebounds. That's good to see from the freshman, especially in a physical game. Colin Chandler, he's got to go down as one of the better guard rebounders in the last 2 decades for Kentucky basketball. 7 rebounds there. That's just an effort thing. And then Andre Yelovich, with more minutes, he's doing more good things. 7 rebounds for the European today. So those are your leading rebounders for the Cats. KPG Glass, that's who hit the glass.
Yeah, I wouldn't have expected Kentucky to lead the rebounding department based on what we saw tonight, and based on the fact that Chris Beard, that's one of his calling cards, is rebounding, and this Kentucky team has famously struggled with that this year. But credit to them, they out-rebounded them by 2, as you mentioned. Colin Chandler, again, one of those times that you don't have your shot. He was 2 for 10 from the field overall, but he kept himself in the game by being more aggressive, getting the rebounds, and you know what happens when you rebound the ball? You get more second chance opportunities, you get more opportunities for runouts, and you get easier shot selection. So the rebounding was a big benefit in Kentucky's favor today. Yelovich, I thought, he's really started to come on, and he's really starting to earn his minutes as of late. And if you can get a consistent starting 5 to a degree, that's partially why I think the last 2 games they've started better in these first halves. Give credit to Yelovich and give the credit to this Kentucky team for figuring out a way to rebound the ball when, I mean, let's face it, a lot of missed shots in this game, a lot of opportunities to get rebounds, 88 combined between the 2 teams. Not that's a higher total than you'd like, but Kentucky winning the rebounding battle was not something that I had on my bingo card coming into the game.
Oscar Sheboy would have loved this game with the amount of rebounds. I'm going to make a executive producer decision here. We're going to go to the UPS Jobs Top 25 scoreboard. Join the shift at UPS Jobs. Apply today at upsjobs.com/Worldport. I'm going to go to the bathroom. Zach's going to read these stats for you.
There we go. Yeah, just what everybody's here for. But yeah, this is the UPS Jobs Top 25 scoreboard. I got a couple of these games in my good old multi-view right now. So let's talk about the games that already concluded. Number 5, Duke thrashes Wake Forest 90-69. Another dominant performance by the Blue Devils in that game. Cam Bruiser had another big day. Number 7, Nebraska goes to 20-0 on the season. They might be the basketball version of Indiana football this year as they beat Minnesota on the road 76-57. They dominate the second half after they trailed at halftime. Number 10, Michigan State dominates Maryland 91-48. Just a beatdown at the Breslin Center. Just finished in Charlottesville. Number 22, North Carolina beats number 14, Virginia 85-80. A big win there for the Tar Heels in ACC play as they're going to move up in the polls now. They're 4-3 overall in the conference, so they avoid going below 500. Number 15, Vanderbilt beats Mississippi State 88-56, so they're rolling coming into the matchup against Kentucky on Tuesday. They end their 3-game losing streak with a big win down in Stark Vegas. Number 18, Clemson beats Georgia Tech 77-63. The ACC looking perhaps for their second best team in the conference behind Duke. Clemson's starting to work that way into the conversation. Games going on right now. Maybe an upset alert in Storrs, Connecticut, as Villanova leads number 2, UConn 48-44 at the under 8 timeout. They're just about to come out of the under 8 timeout, as a matter of fact. Number 21, Georgia leads Texas 44-41 with 15 minutes to go in that game. So the Bulldogs looking for a big win. Texas probably needs that win to stay on any sort of NCAA tournament bubble discussions. Just started out in Tucson. Number 1, Arizona leads West Virginia 11-4. The College Game Day game down in Texas Tech as number 6, Houston leads number 12, Texas Tech 22-19 with 12 minutes and 51 seconds to go in the first half in that game. That was another game that got moved up. That was supposed to be a 6 o'clock game, got moved up to 2 o'clock because of weather down in Texas. I can't imagine how they're handling the snow down there. Probably much more rationally than we are. That's a lie. Just about to start on the CW in a matter of moments. Number 23, Louisville takes on Virginia Tech. Number 11, Purdue will hit the road, or number 11, Illinois, rather, will hit the road to take on number 4, Purdue at Mackey Arena. Big game in the Big Ten there. Number 9, Iowa State goes on the road to Stillwater to take on Oklahoma State in a key Big 12 battle. Number 16, Florida will take on Auburn at 4 o'clock on ESPN. Number 20, Arkansas will play the Golden Boot game in football. They'll play LSU in that one tonight at 5 o'clock. The Holy War, number 13, BYU takes on Utah in the Battle of the Soakers at 5:30. Number 8, Gonzaga will take on San Francisco at 8 o'clock tonight. And then another big matchup in the Big 12 will be number 19, Kansas on the road at Kansas State. Bramlage Coliseum, always a tough place to play. And then finally at 8:30, it's not the third Saturday of the month, but usually it is when Tennessee and Alabama play on the football field. But they're going to meet on the hardwood tonight. Alabama 6.5-point favorites. Certain somebody's going to play in that game. Mark Pope had a few things to say about that after the game against Texas on Wednesday night. And that's your UPS Jobs Top 25 scoreboard.
Did you like the taste in your mouth? Let's get that taste back in our mouth.
Well done, Zach Cantrell. This is the Bud Light Kentucky postgame show on ESPN 680. Yeah, normally if we're not on camera, I can run to the bathroom and everybody's
Nobody
none the
notices.
wiser.
Yeah.
But just consider me Miles Davis on a day like today. We were rushing home with the kids just to be able to get on air on time, and I had to go rushing home. No time, just came, set up, and got on the air. And I was like, oh boy, let's see how we do. But couldn't quite make it to the end of the show. Couldn't quite make it to the bathroom, if we're just going to be totally honest, but did well enough. So thanks, Zach, for the coverage there. Let's go to Barnes Auto Service. They probably love that lead in and that intro. Barnes Auto Service, basketball fixes, things that you want to see fixed, reliable repairs, bumper to bumper, barnesautoservice.com. What's it for you today, Zach? I think we could get a little creative here.
Boy, what do I want to see fixed? Well, shoot the ball better, obviously. I think that's the number one thing I want to see fixed. I mean, their first halves have been significantly better the last couple of games, but you go 18 for 50, you shoot 36%. You're not going to win a lot of games against quality opponents. So that's one thing that I want to see fixed on this team. I think free throw shooting and three-point shooting, it just kind of is what it is at this point. So overall, I think it's just the shooting aspect of things. But no more second half or second chance opportunities for Ole Miss. They shot 15 more shots today than Kentucky did. And the Wildcats are kind of lucky that did not come back to bite them, although Kentucky did shoot 17 more free throws. So it's somewhat ironed out. But maybe in a future game that the referees are not quite as generous, that shooting difference might end up being a potential problem for this team. So no second chance opportunities. Shoot the ball a little bit better to start the game. 12 turnovers is still more than you'd like to have. So I think there's a lot of things that you can take out of a rock fight and fix, but those are probably, I would say, the main ones is don't get outshot by 15. That's a very high number in a game like this.
Yeah, that's mine. And Kentucky seems fortunate to survive with Ole Miss only able to get 14 second chance points coming off what was a 17 offensive rebound performance. So let's just say on 17 offensive rebounds for Ole Miss, I don't want to do the math for you, but if they scored on half of those and let's say 2 of those were 3-pointers, you're talking about 20 points just like right there. And again, the point they only had 14 second chance points. So I do feel like Kentucky somewhat was fortunate there. But let's say they scored on every second chance points and they were all 2-pointers. Then you're talking about 34 second chance points. So Kentucky's defense was good today. Don't make it tougher on yourself. Get those rebounds. And Ole Miss really, they're a solid offensive rebounding team, but they don't have a great deal of size. You're going to go against some teams that are going to be able to bully you more. You have a game against Arkansas. You have a game against Georgia. You have 2 games against Florida. All teams that have physical, big, athletic size, a lot of size on those front lines. If Ole Miss is able to beat you on the offensive glass like that, and you're able to give up, again, you did beat them on the glass, and I am surprised by that. But if you're able to give up 17 offensive rebounds to Ole Miss, you just have to be better there. So that's my Barnes Auto Service basketball fix, Lanning's Paints, points in the paints. That was a strength for Kentucky on Wednesday, or I think Texas still had more points in the paint than Kentucky did on Wednesday, but I think it was like a combined 80. I think both teams were in the 40s or near 40s for points in the paint. Totally different ball game tonight. Ole Miss beats Kentucky in the paint, 22-16, only 16 paint points for UK. What do you make of that, Zach Cantrell? It was just a bad offensive game for Kentucky, so it really wasn't good in the paint, and it wasn't good on the perimeter, and it really wasn't good anywhere, but Kentucky at least was able to get to the foul line is maybe the only positive spin you can have there.
Yeah, that really is the only positive spin you can have of this. I mean, you would expect Kentucky to be better as far as points in the paint. They really were against Texas. They were able to get the ball to the basket. They were able to have Malachi Moreno with his second chance opportunities. There was none of that in this game. It was just a it was an offensive slop fest. Just no shooting. There's no scoring on the inside. Just the free throw shooting kind of bailed them out in this game. But Kentucky's defense also did a really good job not allowing Ole Miss with all those second chance opportunities. Only 22 paint points. So that's a good job by Kentucky's defense where, again, that could have cost them the game, and we could be talking a whole lot more about how they just didn't rebound the ball. Yeah, they may have won the rebounding battle, but they didn't win the rebounding war because they just weren't able to finish off possessions when they needed to. But holding Ole Miss to only 22 paint points, I thought was pretty impressive, and maybe scoring more, that's another area that you could have the Barnes auto fix. But pretty good job, I thought, defensively in the paint by this Kentucky team.
Well said. I had a buddy text me and say, "You're killing me. You keep saying tonight. It is today." I'm sorry. I corrected myself in the first segment on that, but the dam broke eventually. I've been up since 5 a.m. Zach, I went into the office today because I know I'm probably not going to be able to get in there for the next few days. I want to finish some things up. I've been running on fumes. I'm not an energy drink guy, but we got an energy drink in me as well. So I'm doing my best, but yes, it is today. It just, for me personally, it feels like tonight. So apologies there. But yeah. And hey, Zach, actually, did I mention this on Wednesday that you told me that I wouldn't get a parking ticket last Saturday, but I did get a parking ticket on Saturday?
Did you really? Oh, no.
I did. So is that $30 coming out of your paycheck?
No, I don't think so.
You're kind of responsible if you think about it. You told me I could park there without issue. It really wasn't my fault when you break it down that way.
Well.
That's 2 parking tickets in about 6 weeks for me after probably going 15 years without a parking ticket. So a bit of a rough stretch for your boy. My other one was right outside the Yum Center. Well, not right outside the Yum Center, but closer to like the restaurants near the Yum Center. I thought the meters were off for the evening. Similar situation to last Saturday down by U of L. I thought the meters weren't running at that time. Turns out they were running. Although for the Billy Strings concert, Zach, I was able to spin it. Like I was probably going to pay $25 for parking anyways. And I just got a great parking spot. So,
hey, so whatever works. Hey, you'll take it.
I'd rather have not have paid, but yeah, it kind of worked out. For the post-game show last week, I wasn't going to pay $25 for parking, so I don't feel like I got my money's worth there. But yeah, unfortunate, and you're strictly to blame, unfortunately.
I didn't think the meters were running either. So, I mean, none of us know when they're running, except we know they're running during the day. We don't know what's going on at night here.
It's all a racket from the government. They'll just nickel and dime you every which way to Sunday. SEC conference standings delivered by Louisville Ladder, built to be above. And hey, unlike the football season, we like these updates from Louisville Ladder.
Yeah, they're moving up these standings, actually, as WLKY has now cut into my basketball coverage with
moving on up in the SEC East standings. Oh, it's not the SEC East anymore, but
no, it's just the SEC. So Texas A&M and Florida tied atop the conference at 5-1, but in second place all to themselves, at least for the moment. The Kentucky Wildcats are 5-2 in SEC play, just a half game out of first place. Of course, Florida and Texas A&M both play later today. Georgia and Arkansas right behind them at 4-2. Alabama at 3-2. Vanderbilt moves up to 4-3 with a victory today. Missouri and Auburn are at 3-3 in conference standings. Ole Miss has now dropped to 3-4. Tennessee 2-3. South Carolina and Texas both 2-4. Mississippi State at 2-5. LSU at 1-5 and Oklahoma at 1-5. Those two bring up the rear in the SEC conference standings. So Kentucky's gone now from 0-2 in SEC play to 5-2 in SEC play. So going from last place to second place in about 2.5 weeks. So pretty good movement there for the Wildcats, and that is your SEC conference standings.
In a week, are they 5-4, Zach Cantrell?
I'll say they're 6-3. I think they get one.
Wow. If they get one, I really will be tickled. And that's not to say that I'd be okay with a 1-1 week for UK basketball. Let's just be realistic with it. If they can go on the road and win at Vandy, that would be huge. If they can go on the road and win at Arkansas, that is season changing. That is a win that you remember the season by. I'm not saying that if Kentucky flames out in the first round, you'd say, well, at least we beat Cal in Arkansas. But there would be some people that would do that. There would be some people that would do that. It wouldn't be okay with me. But point being, it would be ginormous. So if they're not 5-4 when we do these conference standings next week, delivered by Louisville Ladder, that'll be a huge win for Kentucky basketball, for Mark Pope. And you really can start talking about, like, all right, maybe win the SEC, maybe get a 4, or I'd say dream weaving, like a 3 seed wouldn't be totally off the table, although that would be pretty close to dream weaving. That's probably about your ceiling right now, realistically. But who knows? Go 1-1 next week, and that would just be huge for UK. I, unfortunately, if I had to guess today, my guess is Vandy. I'm glad you're not getting them coming into with a 4-game losing streak or whatever it would have been. They do beat Mississippi State. On the flip side of that, maybe they figured something out where they were playing bad and now they went on the road and they win at Starkville, and that's just what they needed to kind of get back on track. Either way you look at it, it's going to be a tough one on Tuesday. And then I hate that I have this opinion. I'm dreading that game on Saturday. I worry that Kentucky could get blown out. I think Arkansas will be motivated. Obviously, Cal will be motivated. Last year's meeting at Rupp Arena didn't instill any confidence in me going into round number 2. I don't want to lose by 30 points, and I don't think that – I think there's a chance that's on the table. Now, that being said, I'm not scared. Otega-Oweh, Denzel Aberdeen, all these players, you need to go in there with nothing to lose. And who knows? Mark Pope's always good for some surprises. Maybe that game ends up being a lot more competitive than a week out, I imagine it. But I also am high on Arkansas. I think they're a pretty good team. That's a tough place to play, though, and that game means a little something to John Calipari. But it should mean something to Kentucky. It's just none of those players
It's not communism.
A lot of those players don't have an association with Cal, so it probably means more to Cal if we're just going to call a spade here. Okay, let's wrap this bad boy up on your Saturday so we can prepare for Winter Mega Storm 2026. We want everybody to be safe. Remember to look out for your neighbors and maybe order you some Boom Boss Pizza and Watch Bar and get some extra so you can have plenty for tomorrow and maybe even into Monday. What to watch, presented by Boom Boss Pizza, Watch Bar, pizza, beer, and sports. Zach Cantrell, what jumps out to you?
Well, it's pretty obvious, at least to me, it's the AFC and the NFC championship games tomorrow because, frankly, I don't know every time that a basketball game is going to be played tonight because of the weather. So if I could tell you that the Houston-Texas Tech game would be later, then I would have probably picked that one. But it's the AFC and NFC championship games for me. I mean, just one step away from the Super Bowl, the great NFC West rivalry, which Seattle leads all time 29-28, and they lead all time by a single point. So it really gets no more even than that. And then the Patriots-Broncos, I want to see if Jarrett Stidham is up to the task against the Patriots defense. It's been pretty good as of late, but it is worth pointing out Drake May has he's fumbled the ball 6 times in this postseason. So they've been a little bit loose with the ball. So I think that'll be a better matchup than people expect, but it's the 2 games tomorrow.
A spot in the Super Bowl on the line in the NFC and the AFC championship games. What do you like from a betting perspective on those games?
Yeah, I don't love bets. This week is hard just because I think Seattle wins, but I like Matthew Stafford over 290 passing yards. I think that's a good one because if the Rams are going to win, it's because Matthew Stafford throws for a bunch of yards. But I think Seattle gets it done at home. They're favored by 2.5. I think the home field and the best overall defense does it. So if you want Seattle money line, I don't think that would be a bad strategy there. And then as far as Patriots-Broncos is concerned, I think Jarrett Stidham's going to have to throw for over 190 yards. I think is his total on FanDuel. It would have to be over 190, I think, for Denver to win the game because I think they're going to try to run the ball and they're going to try and win it with defense. But eventually, Stiddy's going to have to let it loose, and I think they're going to throw it more on first down than I would expect, or than the defense would probably expect. So a couple player props for you there, but I think New England wins. So if I have more confidence in the Patriots winning than I do in the Seahawks.
I hear you. All right. I'm kind of I'm actually on the Rams to cover. I think I took the Seahawks by 1, but if you're going to give me some points with the Rams, I'll roll the dice there. I think it's a close game one way or another. And then ultimately don't feel good about it, but I think the Patriots win by 6. So I will take them to cover as well. But yeah, Stiddy, that's the storyline. Are you an ass or Stiddy guy?
Yes.
Okay, good answer. Right answer. All right, your snow prediction. How many Louisville is that?
Am I rubbing off on you now?
No, you're not, Strebel. I'll say 11 inches.
I'm going 8 at the end of the day. I don't know if we get some sleet from the windows to the wall, but I think it ends up being a little less than everybody's anticipating. That being said, 8 inches, that's nothing to mess around with. Be safe. Don't go out there unless you absolutely have to. And if you do, make sure you've got a vehicle that's equipped to do it, and make sure you bring blankets and all sorts of stuff that in case you need to walk, you're ready and prepared to do such. Charger extended chargers, make sure your cell phone, your computers, all that stuff is ready to go just in case you lose some power. And like I said a couple times, check on your neighbors. This is the real deal. We want you all to be safe. Justin, thanks for getting us on. Best wishes over the next few days. For Zach Cantrell, I'm TJ Walker. This is the Bud Light Kentucky postgame show. 5 straight for Kentucky, and now it's on the road to Nashville to try to make it 6 against the Commodores on Tuesday night, 9 o'clock. Everybody be safe.